All right, ladies and gentlefolk, we've got Trigger in the bottom right side of the map, Basilisk's Trigger, REYNOR in the top left side as well. Friends, Zealots, Zerglings, Marines, stay tuned, get excited, strap yourselves in, because people keep telling me, Pig, have you cast REYNOR Trigger? Did you see REYNOR Trigger? And I've heard Trigger brought some spicy build orders. So I'm going to mention that straight away because, yeah, basically, I think I'm probably going to put it in the thumbnail and the title of this video because I think a quick kind of action-packed best of 3 like this that's very much about, I don't know if Trigger does it, you know, in all of the games or just 1 or 2 of the games. I know at least one of the games, I believe he may do some variation of his Blink build. Now, for those who don't know, we cast his Blink build against Rogue recently on this channel in the REYNOR group stage, which was in, there was 2 videos we did of the whole Group A of REYNOR. And one of those games, I think it was Tourmaline, where Trigger was playing against Rogue, he went for a 2-base Blink all-in and got absolutely savagely mauled because Rogue just stopped at like 35, 36 workers, made Ravagerling, and every time Trigger moved out, he would just get surrounded by Massling and Ravagers. And, you know, he has a Warp Prism, he has Blink, but he just so many Zerglings and they're so fast, you can't hide. And he just constantly be losing Stalkers, trying to recall, moves out again, gets surrounded again. And the funny thing is, after getting mauled like 4 times in a row, Rogue just never droned up. And then Rogue tried to all-in him and threw his army away, and Trigger won. And it was like, all you needed to do was defend and surround the Stalkers, but somehow Rogue, I mean, we've all done it in that moment. You think, oh, I've crushed so many armies, I can't lose. And you kind of let your guard down. But what the problem he made is that with that build that Trigger did in that game is Trigger had a lot of +1 Zealots to deal with the heavy Zergling that he'd added in. And Rogue, when he engaged, all of his Ravagers were fighting the Stalkers when they should be killing the Zealots with their range damage to kill them very quickly. And his Zerglings, which should be fighting the Stalkers because they take very little damage from them. The Stalkers overkill really badly against the Zerglings. The Zerglings were fighting the Zealots that 2-shot them. So it was this really awkward fight where like everything went right for Trigger. But I think that was an example of Trigger's strategy getting completely hard counted. And I don't know if REYNOR would have watched that series. Would he have tuned in for it? It was a different group to his. Would he have paid any attention? I doubt it. I don't think so at all. So I really feel like he might struggle just on a theoretical sense of falling into the more classic trap. Rogue hard countered the strat multiple times and then just got a bit too, I would say, stiff in his play, didn't stay flexible when he could have very easily transitioned out of it. Now, most Zergs will fall for the other mistake. Rather than massing army and hard countering the build, they'll drone too hard and then the Stalkers overwhelm them. Because you need an overwhelming number of Zerglings, otherwise the Stalkers can just keep blinking back, none of them ever die, and they just keep picking off units for free. And this is that build. This is the build. Okay, so Trigger is opening the series with the build. So it's Twilight into Forge. So he's going to go for Blink first, and then +1. At first, when I saw this, I was like, +1 can't be good here, right? Sorry guys, one sec. Oh, sorry. Just a little issue there, tabbing out, and we're back. Sorry for that. I thought the +1 made no sense because it doesn't really help Stalkers against anything. Like a bit more damage versus Queens and Roaches, but like it doesn't help them kill Zerglings. It's purely so he can warp in Zealots to deal, like the Stalkers force heavy Zergling. It's because the Stalkers beat the heck out of Roaches and Ravagers, and then you go for that. He's also full walling here, which announces what he's doing immediately. Like you already know, oh, he's full walled. Okay, so you should know what's happening as REYNOR, but REYNOR's still building a Spore Crawler against a full wall build. You don't need spores against full wall builds. He's gone 4 Queens. I understand, especially not when you've got 4 Queens. A full wall off build is very, very gimmicky, but the Stalker did deny his scouting. He now sees a 3rd gas here. REYNOR is not sure what's happening. He starts a Roach Horn, a 2nd gas of his own. And the trick is he needs to stop droning soon. I would say 45 drones is fine. I think Rogue probably stopped a bit lower on economy than he needed to. But you also want to pull your Overlords back. Like you don't want to leave these Overlords out here. Otherwise, they'll be sitting ducks when the Stalkers arrive. And you can tell REYNOR has not adjusted to that just yet. I like this move. He can even pull back the weak Zergling if he wants. Try and see what's going on. REYNOR's building 6 more drones. That's got to be the maximum. He's building 2 more spores. Oh, he thinks it's like 2 Stargate Oracle or something. Or DTs. He thinks it might be DTs. Oh, it could be like DT drop. He sees the Robo. Oh, okay. He's building a lot of drones right now. REYNOR has no idea. He has no idea about this build. Okay. See, that's the thing. If you don't expect this build, it's very confusing. That's where this build is strong, is as a surprise. If your opponent hasn't seen it, doesn't know about it, because they don't understand the limitations. Whereas if you know what's coming ahead of time, it's much easier to counter. He is about 12 workers higher than Rogue. I think Rogue started on 37 drones massing Ravagerling. Then again, you've still got 30 Zerglings, 4 Queens, few Roaches, which can morph into Ravagers pretty much immediately. These Overlords are still a little exposed, especially these ones. Lings are going to come home. There's a lot of Zealots walking across the map. The Stalkers dive in. And this is really cute, right? Because 4 Stalkers, he's like, dude, oh, look at that. The Overlord right there, sitting dark. Could have got that Overlord, but he's going to go into the main base. Trigger kind of maybe overthinking it a little bit there. His Zealots are walking home at the same time. He's starting +2 as well. Always going to find these Overlords. It's a shame he let that other Overlord escape. He could have got 3 Overlords here, but you can see that's pretty expensive. Reynor's got Roach Speed. He's building more drones, which Reynor does not need more drones. He just needs tons of Ravagers and Lings. Lings, Ravagers, Ravagers, Ravagers. He's got a way better economic setup than Rogue had in this situation. So if he can just mass those army, he will be good. Roaches to deal with the Zealots, and Ravagers as well could help. And Zerglings go after the Stalkers is the goal here for Reynor. And for Trigger, of course, Stalkers pick off those Roaches and Ravagers. Zealots defend them from the Zergling surround. Here we go. Stalkers trying to pull back here. Sounds like Rogue chucked a Zerg in that series. You're absolutely correct, he did. Oh! Oh! Okay, Stalkers, got to be careful. Lings are going to go for the counter, not a bad move. This is probably too many Lings to counter with, because this leaves him really exposed at home. He's going very heavy on the Roach Ravager is Reynor into Blink Stalker. Bit of a dicey decision. Normally you go almost pure Ravager Ling here, but I think the Zealots have scared him. And without any Zerglings here, oh my god, he goes for the counter, but indecisive. He commits to the counter way too late, and then Trigger just shoves in and is ruining this Roach count. A few Stalkers do go down though, as do some of the Zealots. But look at this, the Stalkers. Oh, he even blinks forward there. Crazy ambitious move there for Trigger. Will lose himself a few Stalkers for that. It's a little cocky there. The Lings need to be on the Stalkers, not on the Zealots. Reynor trying to run around. He needs to be fighting these Stalkers. Lacking these Lings the whole time has been massive. A big part of what you need to do with those Lings is tank the Stalker shots. And you want to try and come in from the flanks as much as possible. Constantly stay on top of this. Take advantage of those slow Zealots. But the Trigger micro is really good on the Stalkers. Trigger is one of the best Stalker Blink micro players in the world. One of the fastest StarCraft players in general. Honestly, I've seen him micro as well as parting with Blink Stalkers. Very nice. The Stalkers are damaged, but they're not really dying right now. One dies up top. Other one picks up into the Warp Prism. Beautiful micro here for Trigger. You'll notice when Blink's on cooldown, he just picks them up into the Prism. Really beautiful control. And often even dodging Queen and Roach projectiles. Reynor's army starts to just run out of steam here. He both over-droned a little bit, I would say. It would have been okay maybe if he had all of his units together. But he really needed more Zerglings with the army to defend. And if he countered with his Zerglings a little bit earlier, you can see he just doesn't have the units now. He would have been able to force warp-ins at home. And then all you need to do is force a bunch of warp-ins at home. If they don't warp in more than 1 or 2 units, tear the wall down to really punish them. And if they do warp in those units at home, then bring those Zerglings into flank. But Reynor took a bit too long to go for that counter-attack. He did not know what the hell this build was, and Trigger with a bizarre +2 attack. Stalker Zealot, 2 base all in, is finding the damage. Reynor in trouble now, down on workers, down on army, and these Roaches just getting focused. And look at that, Trigger blinks forward and then uses the Prism to pick up the Stalkers as if it's a PvT early game. What a sick puppy. Without the Zerglings there to punish, there's not much you could do about it. The Stalkers have a 6 range against the 4 range of the Roach advantage. Queens only have 5 range, so they're slightly outranged as well. Add the blink with the micro ability, and Roach is not going to be able to answer this massive Stalkers. Beautiful, beautiful play. Close to 2-to-1 trading for Trigger. And you may have mined a few thousand resources more as Reynor, but a few thousand is not enough to make up for a 5,000 resource difference in the trading. Trigger can do this all day. There's no way out of this position now. So when you deal with Blink Stalkers, remember, it's about having enough units so they can't just keep doing this. Shoot, pull back, blink, shoot, attack, blink. Because now Trigger's not really losing units unless he makes a micro mistake. He missed micros, loses 1 Stalker there, loses another one, and now he's like, oh wait, I can just win, can't I? And he will blink forward, take out Reynor. Reynor taking way too long to send those Lings across the map, didn't even force a warp in, and then just went, oh crap, you're diving, and brought them home. He could have just left 5 Zerglings here and at least forced a few warp-ins at home, and a bit of attention over there would have been amazing. Yeah. Another move people like to do if they're on low economy is they wait for the Protoss army to move out like over here, and then they come in with like 4 Ravagers and 20 Zerglings. and you know, bile the buildings down, and the range damage as well as the Zergling damage can tear the wall down really fast. It's actually really, really tough. But REYNOR loses game 1 despite, I think, having a decent position. You could tell he was really not sure what was happening. We'll see if Trigger tries it again in game 2. All right, guys, REYNOR in the top right, getting a nasty loss there. Trigger in the bottom left. Now, we do have an update from Pi, who was at the tournament, who's watching live in the stream chat, and says, "Oh, Pig, later on in this tournament, this is just a group stage match, they asked REYNOR about this series, and he said after game 1, he had the perfect idea. He knew exactly what Trigger was going to do, and he'd prepared a build specifically to counter it, which I think is really awesome. So we'll see how that goes out. REYNOR's going to go for the hatchery first here on the natural. Now, Trigger's going to go for the Gate Scout, the worst Protoss opening, where you are, unless you really want to, you think annoying the minerals is super worth it, which, to be fair, REYNOR has been one of the players who I think struggles with that the most out of the top Zergs. This is not very necessary unless you're afraid of a Zerg going 12 pool, which we very rarely see from top Zergs. Almost never happens. But Trigger wants to play ultra safe here rather than ultra efficient. Either going for no scout or sending one of your first probes across to block the hatchery are both better options. Something that myself, Harston, Lambo, Drogo, many players are adamant about. We haven't really heard any good arguments to the contrary other than players just saying, oh, I want to play safe. I mean, it makes sense. Like, when we see Showtime do this, no one's surprised. Showtime has always been a conservative, safe player, but see guys like Sound, Classic, Trigger, Skillless, all doing this a lot. It does feel a bit inefficient, and I definitely think the Protoss players could play the odds in the early game a little bit better. To me, it feels odd that so often Zergs are getting away with a 16 hatchery when they want to, and the few times when Protoss players are going for the block, the Zergs are predicting it and going for a 15 hatchery before Overlord and getting it down. I think Cyril, I think Hero has a great mentality having a game. He's a gambler. Most players try to play perfectly. He seems to work out for him a good amount of the times. Yeah, I mean, Hero is a very scrappy, crazy gambler as well. I think his style's great. I think in general, Koreans have always had a higher appetite for risk than Europeans and foreigners. If you go back to the early days of StarCraft 2, think of your Liquid Rats, think of your Idras, think of your Thorzanes. You know, a lot of the early players, they were all trying to play a perfect game of StarCraft, and as if that was ever even vaguely attainable. And it's not like you shouldn't have some factor of that, but what they would always do, not always, but very heavily, Europeans especially, and just non-Koreans in general, is they would always underestimate how many mistakes people make if you mess up their rhythm. They wouldn't prioritize messing up the opponent's rhythm as much. They wouldn't prioritize denying scouting as much. They wouldn't prioritize the metagame in the series of going, well, if I sometimes go for this all-in, but then even when I'm not going for it, I make it look pretty much identical to when I'm going for the all-in, so you know, I have no idea. Think about, like people always, they'd be like, man, ZVP is impossible. And I'd be like, have you watched Dark play StarCraft? I've talked to Protoss players who seem unstoppable in that matchup. I can't remember when Estrella was basically unstoppable. 2022 was Estrella's year. That man got bloody blocked by Dark so many times because you play against Dark and you just don't know what he's going to do. And there's so many crazy all-ins that he could go for, and they're impossible to predict. Oh, look at this, guys. Trigger has not gone for a Forge this time. This is an earlier Blink all-in. This is an even earlier Blink all-in. Massive thank you, DL7RRK, supporting the Pigfest. Thank you so much, dude. $23.63 going towards the Pigfest prize pool. Appreciate you, mate. Thanks, everyone. We're already up at the time of casting this, I think, was it $3,200? Prize pool. Oh, that's a quick lair. Oh, so guys, is REYNOR going to try and go really fast Roach speed to shut it down with Mass Roach? Does he think Mass Roach beats Mass Stalker? I don't think it does. Don't get me wrong, you can do quite well if you can sandwich the Stalkers with like Roach Ling from two sides. You still need a few Lings mixed in to tank shots, and if the Protoss is really good at stutter stepping and doesn't stand and fight too much, it's very tough. But this is a 4-gas, 6-gate Blink all-in, no +1 this time. And that's a hard counter if REYNOR indeed goes Roaches, which it looks like he's going to just try and rush Roach speed. He's also going 53 drones again, but this is an even faster attack than the last game. He's going to start building Zerglings. His Overlords are pulling back this time. Losing those Overlords last time was really bad for him. He's going to start roaches. He needs ravages. He's going overlord speed. Why would you make overlord speed? Dude, you just need to survive. It's a 2-base all in. Okay, he cancelled overlord speed. Maybe it was a misclick. That's good. The creep tumor does survive. It goes invisible before those projectiles could hit. Lings are going to go forward and deny these stalkers, but stalkers pick off a ling or two, do a bit of damage, a few more stalkers, and an observer coming across the map. 10 roaches and roach speeds on the way. He is indeed. He's rushing roach speed. Ravager Ling is the counter to this style. I think Reynor is overestimating how much Zealots counter Zerglings, because he's thinking there's a +1 behind this, because there was last game. He's thinking there's Zealots coming, but that's a 3-gas. This is a 4-gas build as well, even though he has pulled 1 worker off those gases on the natural. This is really interesting. Spinecrawler goes down. Spinecrawler near useless against Stalkers. It does good damage, but it doesn't have the mobility. And remember, fighting this army is all about swarming it and overwhelming with mass Ling Ravager. Reynor has really good pullback micro, though. If he can come in with a full wraparound, he could do this. He thinks this roach speed rush is a counter, and he just wants to buy time for roach speed, more lings, more roaches, more ravagers, and surround the army. He's got a lot of money, but he needs a macro hatchery as well. Remember, when you always need a macro hatchery against blink all-ins. 3 hatcheries not enough to defend it. But Reynor hasn't been playing NA ladder for a while. I've actually played against Trigger doing variations of this build many times because I play NA ladder and he likes to screw around with build orders like this over the last few years. But I don't know if Reynor has any experience actually playing against it. The Prism, dodge. The Prism went down. He was a fraction of a second too late unsieging. Great snipe there for Ray. The Lings coming in as well as the Roach Ravager. The Zealots aren't really going to do much. These Ravagers will go down. Great micro there by Trigger. Just blinks back, gets rid of the Ravagers, but he's lost the Prism and he's got to rebuild a new one. And he's getting chrono boosted. Meanwhile, Roach Ravager Ling on the way. I think the Lings should go around and try to attack the wall off, force warp-ins at home. But he's so desperate on the defense, he might not be able to. The Roach Ravager trying to fight, but he's off creep. On creep, Roach Ravager is pretty powerful, but the Observer means there is no creep tumors here. Look, a new tumor goes down, it gets sniped immediately. Really good creep control for Trigger, and he's just picking off units. He's not losing anything, and he's got Reynor in that death zone. The death zone we were talking about earlier, where the Protoss can just pick at you and blink back. The Zergling's going to try and say something about that. They do wrap around and get 2 Stalkers. Is 2 Stalkers enough there? The units lost have 1,500 in favor of the Protoss. More Lings, Roaches, Queens, and Spines trying to build up here. He's floating minerals, which is why he's building Queens. Queens are near worthless against Stalkers. They tank a bit of damage, but they don't do much else. He needs more units, does Reynor. Trigger's going to jump forward. Maybe a bit ambitious. Reynor might be able to snipe these. Roaches and Lings coming forward. The Ravagers as well. Reynor needed that macro hatch earlier. He's been pretty good at injecting, I think. His hatcheries are all injecting right now. He does push this back. He might be able to survive. And he does get a few extra Stalkers there, but he's got to pull back himself. The problem is, whenever you want to retreat, those Stalkers are nasty, man. He even blinks forward. Does lose another Stalker, but he picks off a Ravager and a few Roaches as well. You know he's going to blink forward again. You know Trigger can't keep it in his pants right now. Oh, he actually does, because the Prism is busy warping in, so he can't save the units. Okay, Stalker's going to try and blink back here. Trigger still is on 2 base. There's a 3rd base mining. The main base of Trigger's about to lose 4 of its mineral patches in the next 30 seconds. He is on a timer. He has an immense Stalker count. 25 Stalkers against 5 Ravagers, 13 Roaches, 6 Queens, and just a trickle of Zerglings that are dying as quickly as they come out. Remember, the answer to this is having overwhelming numbers to fully surround the enemy army. 3 Ravagers going to go for the Prism Snipe once again. That's Reynor's famous move. Whenever he's under pressure, sniping the Prism is huge, but problem is he can lose Ravagers doing that as well. The Stalkers are just getting such good value. 2,600 resources superior trading here for Trigger, who needs +1 if your opponent doesn't have a mass of Zerglings. And that's the trick. The trick of Trigger's build here is he said, I'm going to do a +1 all-in. You think Zerglings can't deal with that, even though we know they can from that Rogue game, because Rogue played against the +1 all-in as well. And he kind of tricked Reynor into going mass Roach, and then he didn't even bother with the +1 Zealots this time. This time it was a classic pure blink all-in. But Roach Speed was not the answer. Even though the Prism goes down to the Biles, the Stalker count is out of this world. Trigger's Blink Micro, super impressive. For those who don't know, I am actually not surprised by this. And do you know why? Because if we go back 2 years, I watched Trigger in a similar situation. I think it was on Inside Out. He was playing Solar in, I think, 2022, 2023. Inside Out. Solar was holding on and had about 60 workers massing Roach Ravager Zergling, and Trigger could not kill him. Solar's on 3 base, Trigger's on 2 for 10 minutes. At one point, Solar was up 80 supply, and Trigger beat him with nothing but 2 base blink. And if you see a guy beat a Zerg that has an 80 supply advantage on him with just nothing but Blink Micro, and that's all Trigger did, because you walled off on 2 base, you don't have to look at anything else. All he did was micro Blink Stalkers for like 10 minutes straight and just pick off, and the trading was like out of this world, and I could not believe that a 40 pro Protoss was killing a 60 drone Zerg over 10 minutes of just out trading him savagely. And that was the moment when I realized Trigger had parting level little Stalker micros. Hard to get in that situation, but interesting to see. REYNOR thought he was blind countering the build. I love that info from Pi there, that REYNOR later on in the tournament interview talked about this. He's like, yep, we're rushing Roach speed. We're going to shut it down because then the Zealots. And he's correct. If there was a commitment to +1 Zealots, REYNOR's build is quite good there. But Rogue's build is more general purpose and fits better. Stop at about 40 drones, 2 gases, get a pack of Ravagers and just mass Zerglings, and use that control to build an early 4th base, so you can use that as a macro hatch and get a 4th queen on it as well, injecting it. If you get a 4th base getting injected, you probably don't need a macro hatch as well. And then once you crush an army or 2, then you can drone up around and add roach speed and more roaches if your opponent goes heavy on Zealots and adds Archons or anything like that. But you live, you learn, and as always, Rogue, a guy who's been on the degenerate Korean ladder for many years, he knew how to defend the Blink All-In. You can tell REYNOR hasn't played against this in a long time. GG, well played to Trigger though. Sick victory in the group stage.